Hey y'all, it's Elizabeth Weinmiller, and I have another Who's in the News special coming to you. It's not really special, but it's Who's in the News, who was in the news. So I decided to take a look at Ivana Trump's chart. As many of you may or may not know, she passed away unexpectedly at the age of 73 in her home. She is the first wife of former President Donald Trump. And I just kind of figured it would be interesting to, look at her chart, look at her life. And she's had a pretty impressive life, pretty successful female. So let's go ahead and take a look at her chart and see, I'll kind of share what I see. And yeah, so let me show you her chart. She was born on February 20th, 1949 at 12:55 a.m. in what used to be the Czech Republic. So the location kind of changed a little bit as stuff changed over there. It's now Czechoslovakia. So kind of, things like that. Anyways, let's just jump in. She was based on the rising sign that was on the horizon at her time of birth was Scorpio. It had just entered Scorpio not too long before. So she's a Scorpio ascendant. What makes her chart even more unique is she has the moon in her first house. And what's really interesting is when people have both their ascendant and the moon in the first house, it kind of gives the chart double the power because as astrologers, we're constantly looking at, three main things: your ascendant / rising sign, which gives, who you are, kind of your personality, kind of that really kind of how you view yourself. The moon is your mind. So we want to view how the mind is seeing things, how the mind is interacting. And then the sun is how other people see us. So everyone talks about sun signs, but I won't digress. You should read my blog article on why sun signs are not as important because it is a fascinating article. But she does have her ascendant and moon in the first house of Scorpio. The moon is weak in Scorpio, but it just means she had to work 3 times harder for the energy when it's a weak moon. So ascendant in Scorpio, really, the moon being there, it can really indicate that she felt and sensed everything in her environment. She may have really desired to be near water, found it soothing, whether it was baths or the ocean or fountains. Really, it can be something that just brought her back to center. Her life could have many unpredictable events and turns with constant changes in activity. She could have been prone to mood swings, so she could have been up and down mood wise. The moon in the first house does give that potential for anybody that has the moon in the first house. And as I mentioned, her moon is weaker in Scorpio, so she had to work harder for the energy. It's not that she didn't have it, it just took her more effort. So she's somebody that could be really good at correcting and guiding others. She would have needed to have worked on expressing her own needs clearly because they may not have always come out as clear. And the moon in the first can sometimes be prone to marriage problems. So we all know she ended up divorced from Donald Trump, but that is one thing that it can bring about. What's made even more interesting is Mars rules Scorpio. It rules her first house and it's in her 4th house. And this really indicates that she could have that desire to connect to family. It could give her an interest in real estate, home design, or construction, but she could be prone to heart or chest problems. The moon rules her 9th house, and being in the first could indicate that her father could have been a big support throughout her life. And there's kind of a certain amount of luck with that placement, ruler of the 9th and the first. She may have kind of really had this, been on this constant search for meaning and purpose throughout her life, never fully feeling like she quite knew it. And one of the things I love about Vedic astrology, which is what I do, is the sidereal Vedic system of astrology, is the lunar mansions, also known in Indian as nakshatras, but lunar mansions, for those of you that are not on the true astrology side. Her ascendant's in the lunar mansion of Vishaka, which really indicates that she could benefit through marriage, traveling, and through changes. She could be extremely competitive and was someone who would not give up until she achieved her goals. I mean, she really had that drive. Her moon is in a different lunar mansion called Honorata, which really indicates she could be outwardly buoyant, very fun loving. She could do better living away from her place of birth. So she did end up in the US as a US citizen. And she had that ability to really work well with large groups of people. Her second house is Sagittarius, and it has Jupiter in Sagittarius over here. So Jupiter's in its own sign. She was someone that was very influential, very cultured, with the capacity to inspire and lead others. Jupiter's in her second house, which can indicate that wealth and money can come easy for her. She could have had that real powerful voice that kind of gave her opportunities throughout her life. It could indicate marrying a wealthy partner, which she did. There could also have been kind of extremes of chaos in childhood. Jupiter is ruler of her second house, and in the second house does really indicate she's someone who would make money through her profession and career. She could gain positions of control and leadership in business, which she did. And Jupiter also rules her fifth house, and in the second house can indicate that financial status can come from her ability to really contemplate and think things through. It can indicate her children bringing her financial opportunities, but it could also indicate earning through entertainment or sports or using her voice. I do know she was a model at one point. That is how she met Donald Trump, which would qualify as entertainment. So, Jupiter is in the lunar mansion of Uttara Ashada, really indicating that she's someone who's devoted to her friends, and she could have some knowledge that sets her apart from other people. She may have really enjoyed reading to gain knowledge, and she could have had, this lunar mansion where people can have multiple marriages or multiple marriage-like relationships. This is made even stronger by the fact that Jupiter can be one of the indicators of the husband in a female's chart, and being in Uttara Shada, multiple marriages or marriage-like relationships. I do know she had multiple marriages after Donald Trump as well. In her third house of Capricorn, she has Mercury and Venus. And Mercury in the third house indicates that she could be extremely convincing. She could be talented in many ways. She could have a talent for learning languages, so meaning she speaks more than one. And she could be drawn to business and be really good with the details to the point of being overly detailed, so almost too far on the detailed side. She could be very smart about protecting her own interests. And Venus in the third house can really indicate a love of the arts and a real gift for creativity. She could be really good at communicating, and she could be someone that was very loyal and responsible. She may have had a love of solitude where she had the side that wanted to be out around people interacting, but she really needed that solitude and time to reset, come back together, and, reclaim her balance. There was also that other side of her where she could come across as more cold or unfeeling at times, because Venus and Mercury are in Saturn's sign of Capricorn. Venus rules her seventh house of partnership, and in her third house does indicate that marriage could have its ups and downs due to her partner's hard-headedness. Take that for what you will take it for. And she could marry a determined partner, so someone that really had that driving, determined personality. Mercury rules her eighth house, and being in the third indicates that she could have a real, uncanny communication ability. She could have abilities in acting, art, and music, and she could have been more bohemian or unconventional in her approach. So not taking the standard traditional, or what we deem traditional, approach to life. Mercury also rules her 11th house of great gains and friends. And in the third house can indicate that she could succeed through determination and perseverance. She could be very persuasive and friendly, as some of the indicators. That Venus Mercury really gave her that kind of charming manners, a fun-loving disposition, and kind of that enjoying the more creative or imaginative side of business. And she could end up having a very helpful marriage partner within her life. Both planets are in two different lunar mansions. At this point, Venus is, in the lunar mansion of Dhanishta, really giving that ability to earn a good living. It can indicate doing well in foreign countries. She could be good at conversations, so making her a very good conversationalist. She's someone that was motivated to accomplish things and really develop her career. And she could select partners that were very different in personality and that kind of that outlook. I will say the other thing is with Danishta, she could have had that knack for being at the right place at the right time to meet the right people. So it just kind of seemed to work for her, especially where it's Venus, the planet of love. Mercury's in the lunar mansion of Shravana, indicating her real ability to truly listen. And again, giving a good marriage and helpful partner. In her 4th house of Aquarius, she does have the Sun and Mars. Sun in the 4th house really indicates being creative, intelligent, inventive, and caring. She really had the capacity for thinking in new ways, kind of thinking out of the box. And she could have been active in matters connected to clothing, homes, and vehicles. She was someone that probably had a very active family life. I know she was close to her 3 children. And Mars in that 4th house can really indicate a strong capacity to take action and an ability to solve problems quickly. There could have been this real love of adventure, and her early home life could have been kind of full of despair with Mars in the 4th. Mars in the 4th, you got 2 malefics in the 4th with Mars and Sun. That can be a little more tumultuous. While you have the good memories, it could have been harder at times. I will say on the flip side, Mars really can give her the ability to acquire good real estate in her life. It could be that she was someone that could benefit from cars, real estate, and land. It can also be a big indicator of heart ailments. So Mars, it's the heart, and the 4th house is one of the houses of the hearts. Sun rules her 10th house, and in her 4th house indicates working with real estate, whether it be in sales or renovation or interior design, which she did help design Trump Towers up in New York City. She could also be involved in like housing or hotel industry or kind of similar industries to that. Mars also rules her 6th house, and in her 4th house could indicate that there could be potential for heart or chest problems. And then what's interesting is Saturn rules her 4th house and goes to her 10th house of career, indicating, again, another key to indicating success in real estate or the hotel business. And again, she could be prone, this comes up multiple times, prone to heart problems with this placement as well. But she did have the capacity to really build up others' emotions. I will point out that her Sun and Saturn are in what's called Parivartana Yoga. So they're in each other's signs of rulership. And this makes them stronger and act as if they're in their own signs. It can also really give her this competitive spirit and kind of enjoying a spontaneous approach to life at times. Sun and Mars are in the same lunar mansion of Shatabishak. This is a harder lunar mansion at times, but she may have been very mystical. She could be very visionary, but she could be prone at times to kind of moodiness, loneliness, and depression as well. In her 6th house of Aries, she has the node of the moon Rahu. So Rahu in the 6th can really give this ability to think of creative solutions to any problem. She was someone who would meet opposition with courage and determination. She could provide exceptional customer service. She could have a fiery temperament, especially with Rahu in Mars's sign of Aries. And she could have this real ambition and drive at work that could give her really a rise in her chosen profession. On the flip side, there could be problems though with coworkers and employees. So she'd have to watch that. She's somebody that would pursue things with passion. So she threw herself in, she went after it. Rahu is in the very first lunar mansion of the zodiac, called Ashwini. And this really gave her a courageous kind of personality. It gave her a zeal and a zest for life. She could be restless at times and a little more stubborn, but she could be someone that really was able to give uplifting energy to others. In her 10th house of Leo down here, she has Saturn. So Saturn here could really indicate that she was hardworking and persistent. For her, life was going to get better later on when she had more experiences, and career success was really going to come from hard work, discipline, and that real, like, kind of getting nitty gritty and down in the details and getting that experience. It could indicate that her father was a self-made man who came from a harder life. And there could have been times, where her life was more uncertain at times. Saturn rules her 3rd house, and being in the 10th house indicates that she could really have good finances and good career development. She could have a career in writing, sales, communication, or even the expressive arts. So, not far off of what she ended up in. Saturn is in the lunar mansion of Maga, indicating that she could enjoy going first class. She could enjoy the finer things of life. Those of you that have Maga or know Maga, that is, you can't deny it. The people that have it, that's what they like. And I've seen it over and over in readings. She could be prone to getting involved in an affair if she felt unloved by her partner. And she really could have this true leadership abilities or come into leadership roles. I do know she ran Trump's, after doing this, I went and saw what her life was about. She did run Trump's Atlantic City Hotel as CEO. So there could have been, she could be this type of person. MAGA people are they have this real deep loyalty and can be very generous. Just don't cross them. Once you lose their loyalty, you're done. You're not getting it back. And she would have had to really watch for that arrogance and egotism, becoming too egotistical, so it didn't become a problem. In her final house of Libra, her 12th house, she has K2, the other node of the moon. And K2 in the 12th house could have indicated that she spent time in seclusion. She could have had trouble maintaining relationships, any type. She may have had this real desire for deep love that is not of this world, that, she couldn't put her finger on. There's always something missing. On the flip side, she does have a real quick adaptability in business and the ability to deal with like a multitude of personality types. Venus is ruler of Libra, being in her third house of Capricorn really indicates that she was someone who may have been determined to get in the light. She wanted that spiritual side. She wanted that spirituality. Even though most people on the exterior may not have seen that, my guess is she was very spiritual. K2 is in the lunar mansion of Chitra, indicating she could be have skills in business. She could be elegantly restrained. She may have been drawn to kind of those serious subjects of philosophy, social thought, kind of those deeper subjects. She was someone that was very well dressed, well groomed, and she could possess that real personal charm and charisma. She really, she had that ability to really have conversations, say the right thing at the right time. And she was someone who would have been motivated by opportunities outside of her place of birth. So based on all of her chart, she was someone that did far better coming to a different country than she would have if she had stayed in her own. That's kind of her birth chart in a nutshell. High level, charts go so much deeper. We all have our own unique birth blueprint. But on the day of her unexpected death, and I know more has come out since I wrote this, but let's kind of look at transits for that day. So she was found unresponsive on July 14th in her New York home. At the time of her death, Saturn had just re-entered her third house of Capricorn with a conjunction to the ruler of her seventh house, Venus, which Saturn can be an indicator of death, and the seventh house is known as a Marika house, which is known as a killer house. Transiting Mars was up in her sixth house of health, conjunct her natal Rahu, and conjunct transiting Rahu and transiting Uranus. So very sudden, unexpected, potentially heart-related. I know they came out saying that it was blunt force trauma to her abdomen that killed her. I'm not convinced that it wasn't a heart attack or something else that took her down the stairs. So just take it for what it will. There's too many signs of potential heart problems in her chart. Transiting Venus, the ruler of her 7th and 12th house, was in her 8th house, exactly conjunct natal Uranus, which is interesting because Uranus is sudden and unexpected. 8th house is transformation, and transformation can be leaving this earth. For most people, it's, some big life change. For her, this life change happened to be death at this point in her life. She had also just she was entering her nodal return. So transiting Rahu was coming back to her natal Rahu, and transiting K2 was coming back to her natal K2. I will say K2 and Libra can be K2 does not like Libra. They are very opposite personalities. K2 is spirituality, let it all go, and Libra is love, and they just don't get along. So it can be, nodal returns can really be a period of change for individuals. Another thing that we look at is she had just entered her Mars Mahadasha and was in her Mars Subdasha. So this put a lot of emphasis on her 4th house of Aquarius, where her natal Mars is, and it's conjunct the sun. So transiting K2 was sending its energy to her natal Mars, ruler of her first house, who she is, and her sixth house of health. You know, just there's a lot of indicators. So again, I know they came out saying it was blunt force trauma. I saw some things before they came out with that it was a heart attack. Based on her chart, I would say it was heart related that triggered everything and triggered stuff. So take it for what it's worth. But I do think her chart is fascinating. I think her life is fascinating. You know, if you personally want to learn more about how to leverage your birth blueprint and minimize like kind of risks inherent in it, reach out to me for a personal reading or coaching. elizabethymiller.com/contact is how to schedule an appointment. And sign up for the free newsletter. I've listed all the links below this video. So I've made it easy for you. There's no excuse. And the newsletter is free. So don't miss out. The new newsletter is coming out in a couple days because I am filming this at before August 1st. We have a massive conjunction coming of 2022. Nobody wants to redo 2020, but 2022. So again, book a reading below or at the end of this video. Book a reading and sign up for the free newsletter and share this with your friends if you found it interesting or helpful. You know, yeah, that helps us. So until then, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Stay tuned because of when this is filmed. Stay tuned for sign predictions and stay tuned for more Who's in the News over the coming months, years, whatever. There's a lot out there. And if you want to catch up on some that I've done before video, check out my blog because I've done a lot of people from, you know, Queen Elizabeth to Prince Philip to Tiger Woods. Oh my gosh, the list goes on. I've done probably 50 plus people at this point over the last few years. So go check out the blog. And again, sign up for the newsletter and you'll get it right to your inbox. What more could you want? You don't have to go find it. Even these videos will come straight to your inbox at that point when the newsletter comes out. So check it out. Until then, I hope everybody has a wonderful day and I will see y'all in the next video.